Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just put you on mute. And then at the end, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them into the chat and then I can address them and we can talk about any specific questions that you might have then. Yeah? Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Susan Cabani. I am the co-founder and CEO of Eugenie. Eugenie is an online platform for memberships and communities, which is a Facebook group alternative, but it's a cross between a Facebook group and building your own membership website. Eugenie is on both iOS, Google, and web now, so it is a great solution for those of you that have communities or online communities where you want to engage your members in a more curated and private space. This morning, we're going to go through a little bit of Zoomticket for those of you that are here live, a bit of introductions, and then we'll jump into our top tips. So as I've already mentioned on Zoom, please just put your questions into the chat and I will address them at the end. And I've already introduced Eugenie. My name is Susan Cabani. I am the co-founder, and I'm also a digital strategist. I work with companies to look at their digital technology and digital strategy to make sure that it is fit for purpose and actually delivering a return on investment. For example, if you're doing Facebook ads, we take a look at whether those Facebook ads are converting, why or why not they may not be converting, to understand that if you are investing £100 in Facebook ads, are you getting a minimum return on that? Or if the purpose is to build your brand, what type of traction is it getting? That's just one of the examples. But we work with all of our Eugenie customers in their technology packages as well to make sure that Eugenie is also fit for their purpose on what they're trying to achieve. So let's just jump into the tips for today. This is a quick 30-minute learning webinar where I will cover our top 10 tips. We do have, if you'd like to join us for this webinar live, you can join us every week at 11 a.m. And for those of you that do attend and register, we will send the slides out that have an additional 10 tips as well. So before we jump into tip number one, the top tip I always give, I was also on a podcast this morning for Flat Out Social, and they asked me at the end, what is my top tip when I'm talking about building engaging online communities? It's strategy, not technology, that's going to determine the success of any online initiative. And so, yes, I'm a technology provider. Eugenie is an actual technology for memberships and communities. But ultimately, if you don't know, build a strategy to effectively engage, and I'm going to talk about how you build that strategy. A lot of the tips are around that. The technology doesn't really matter to a certain extent. You could build a Facebook group, a WhatsApp group, a Eugenie community. But if you haven't thought through the strategy of what is going to build an effective community for your purpose, for your audience, and with the right content, then any type of technology will fail. And so we will talk about in tip number 5, how to choose the right platform, some of the tips on what is the right platform for you. But ultimately, until you've done the strategy work, it's going to also be very difficult to determine what the right platform will be. So this is just a quick look at what we do. We work with in our clients, so you can kind of get a sense. When we do our first consultation, we work with them as a step one on a strategy and designing that online journey that we want their members to take. We then work on creating a content plan. And then third step is actually setting up the app and testing the app. So without knowing what the strategy and the content plan is, it's very difficult to set up any online community in terms of the technology side of things. And again, one final thing before we jump into the tips is understanding the difference between an audience and a community. Now with social media, many of us now have an audience. You might have 100 followers on Instagram, 100 people on Facebook, you might have millions. But an audience is somebody who is listening to you. They're engaging with you by reading your content, by potentially liking or commenting on a post, but it's not necessarily an online community. And if we take a look at the key question is, would your online group exist without you, without your content, and without your initiatives? And if the answer to this question is no, you haven't likely built an online community and you just have an audience. So the tools for them are very similar. I mean, everything that you need for an online community, you also need for an audience. So listening, engagement, loyalty, gamification. But you need a lot more than that when you're building an online community. You're building a space where People want to be there, talk to one another, support one another. They're building that shared loyalty and narrative so that even if you are, let's say, not engaging in the group for a week, it won't die. And one of the tips that we'll talk about is how important it is to be very present in your community and in your groups, whether it's launching or whether it's 5 years old. But ultimately, you do want that space to be a great space for peer-to-peer support as well, and people, asking questions and actually engaging in conversation without you prompting them. I'm not going to cover too much gamification and gifting economy, but I think, be careful of how you employ these kind of tools, because the question I leave you with before we move into the tips is, can you achieve your gifting economy, your incentive at scale? You may be able to do it for the first 100 customers, for example, giving them away a free strategy session, but would you be able to do that for 1 million customers in your current infrastructure? So really thinking about your gifting economy or your gamification strategy. Does it change and shift as you grow? And can it scale? So we take a look at tip number 1. It's defining the objective and goal for your community or your online initiative. So, we work with two kind of different distinct types of communities. We've got our social communities that are, people who are bringing their community together, but they already exist in the real world. So like a church, a nursery group, of a group of moms. Then we have people who are using online community or membership for their business. So it might be that there's an annual or monthly membership revenue that they're generating, or a membership fee that their members are paying. It might be that it's a value add community for people who already purchased from you. So a customer community space, which has a lot of great benefits. But understanding what your objective and goals are for the community are very important, both from that front, but also taking it one step further is, how many people do you want in this community? What is the value this community is going to deliver for those people? How often it is, and what types of things do you want to share with them? And a lot of this, if you don't create that strategy, that objective first, it's going to change a lot of the next steps that you need to take in building your online community. So if we jump into tip number 2, once you've kind of started to understand what it is that you want to do, what you want to achieve, what your goals are, join other communities who may feel this need, observe and learn. I mean, again, a lot of these principles are same for lots of different business models, but you're going to do your competitor research. And the tip here is not necessarily that you're going to go and steal members or try to say to people, hey, look, my group is better than this one. The idea here is to really understand the pain point that your customers are facing or your potential members are facing. Right? We do another webinar on the basics of building a membership, and that's very much about building a paid membership model. But understanding what the pain point is for the potential members you'd like to build in is crucial to the success of whether people are going to not only become your member for the first time, but more importantly, whether they're going to renew their membership when that membership comes up for renewal. So join these other communities, look at what people's pain points are, look at what their challenges are, look at the conversations that they're having. It may validate what you're already planning to do, but it also may give you a USP or unique selling point for what you're doing different in your group. So it will really help you understand your customer's pain point, but also maybe help you differentiate within the market. And working with online communities, we have a growing customer base. We work with Facebook, we work with all these other types of platforms. So we know that online communities are very popular. That being said, I would be surprised if there isn't another group building something similar to you, unless you're, for example, building it just for your church. But even then, you may be able to learn from principles of what other community church leaders are doing to build an effective online community and keep their members engaged. Tip 3, identifying your ideal member or client so that you can attract the right people and create the relevant content. Now, ultimately, this is, again, talking about in any business strategy, who is your ideal customer? Who are you trying to attract and sell your product to? Now, ultimately, if I'm building a community for people who run community, for example, then I also need to take a look at what content and is going to be attractive to those guys. So if my ideal member is someone who is just starting out building their membership, then I shouldn't be talking necessarily that much about retention yet, because I want to take my members through a journey. And if I start talking about things that are too advanced or they're not ready for, it's not relevant for them and then we may lose them. So really taking a look at who your ideal member is, is so that you can create the relevant content. And part of that relevant content is going to be your marketing journey. One of the biggest challenges that we see here at Eugenie, and I see in my digital strategy work, is that a lot of people want to use the online member, online community model to build a recurring revenue stream or to support their customer community. Now, ultimately, it takes quite a lot of hard work to set those things up, but you're going to want to build that marketing funnel to get people into your membership or online community. And so a lot of that is going to be whether that's organic content on your Facebook page or Instagram or LinkedIn, whether that's paid advertising. You really need to be attracting the right type of people into your community. So let's give another example here. If I'm building a community for women in business, but my advertising is attracting men in business, well, ultimately I'm spending money to attract the wrong type of person into my group. Because in my group, I may be talking a lot about, women being moms and dealing with the work-life balance or other gender-related issues that men can't relate to. So really understanding who your ideal member is so you can attract the right type of people through your marketing channels, and then ultimately also create that relevant content. This is just a kind of a side tip. Ultimately, customers want to feel that you're talking directly to them. So we can't use a strategy that's a one-size-fits-all approach anymore in terms of marketing, engagement, or retention. And if you're interested in attending our marketing funnel webinar, please get in touch and you can attend that one that's talking about building your membership and marketing funnels to get customers into your groups or communities. Tip number 4, create a name, look, and a feel that represents the brand, but is unique to your community. And I think the best way to do this is to show you an example. So we have a client of the brilliant Piyush Patel. He's a Federation of Small Businesses advisor, and he has named his community the family. He is building that loyalty amongst his member. He's run, family fortunes games nights, and he really goes above and beyond to try to support his family, which are members who have signed up with him under the Federation of Small Businesses, which I would advise anybody who's a small business owner to check out. If you'd like to connect with Piyush, please, do get in touch and I will connect you. Some great benefits for small businesses, but ultimately he's going above and beyond to create this customer community and give them more and more value as being working with him under the family. Tip 5. So choosing the right platform. Let's jump into some of the things that you want to take a look at when you're looking at what the right platform is for you. Now, choosing the right platform, there's 2 strategies and 2 kind of thoughts that people take. There can always be that, let's just choose something that works for us now, and let's just get the community started, and then we can change it as we grow and scale. Now, there are some advantages of that. There's pros and cons of just using what you can now just to get started, to validate, and maybe to get your first set of people in. But the cons there are it is very hard to move people. And also transitioning people from one platform to another will take your attention away as an admin on marketing, growth, and engagement, which is the hard part. I will say the technology bit is generally the easier bit. And I know that can sound scary for people who are not so comfortable with tech, but that's also another consideration when you're using your platform. Is the platform easy to use? Is there support from the company that's built it? But let's take a look at some of the things that I've listed here. So when choosing a platform for your online community or membership, first thing to look at is, what is your budget? Do you have a budget? And how much would the platform you want to use cost? Now, don't forget to include your time. Your time is also a very valuable asset. It's not just about the subscription you may or may not be paying to a platform. For example, Eugenie has a free trial, but we do charge a monthly subscription. Our value here is, in the long run, we don't want to run into the model where, the data doesn't belong to us, it belongs to our clients, so we can't sell it. So how do we keep our platform sustainable because of all of these businesses who are relying to run their membership with us? We're trying to keep it as low as possible, but we also need to ensure that we can function and make sure we also continue to grow and add more functionality to our customers. Facebook, WhatsApp, Slack, many of these platforms are free, but they require quite a lot of time. So once again, take a look at your time as a factor when you're looking at your budget. Is the platform easy to access? Is there a single sign-on? Is it part of an app that an individual is already using, right? This is one of the reasons why Facebook, LinkedIn, and WhatsApp can be a great tool to start, because people are already on these platforms. But when you're looking at your target client or your target ideal customer, take a look at where they hang out as well. Take a look at, are they Facebookers? Are they the generation that is now coming off of Facebook and using Instagram? Is it is Slack their place to go? So looking at where your ideal customer is going to be important to look at whether one of those platforms is the right space for you. Now, I'm a big advocate that you should build something of your own, whether that's a simple newsletter that people go into, that you control the data. I think it's dangerous to be completely reliant on a social media platform, but it can be an easy way to start. Does the platform allow for someone to easily share content and interact with other members of the community? Now, this comes back to your objectives and what you want to achieve. And so if you are a coach that is using a platform to share valuable paid for content, maybe you don't want the platform to share easily share content, right? We have a coach in our community, we use the Vimeo integration because they don't want to share their video. People are paying for these videos, they don't want them to be easily shareable. Whereas in other spaces, you might be in a free Facebook group where they're encouraging you to share, or you run a free Facebook group and you want to attract new customers or new members into the community. Does the platform allow for push notifications or text message integration? We do live in a mobile world. I mean, even in lockdown, mobile apps have been downloaded in very big numbers. And so, you know, I am on my phone, my laptop, depending on where I am in my house. You know, my phone is with me, even let's say I'm in the garden doing some gardening, especially when I'm trying to be a little bit more outside, not in front of the laptop all the time. But when we get out of lockdown and we go back to normality, you know, whatever that new normal might be, phones and accessibility on a phone and an app is also very important. Can you customize the platform to your liking, the logo, the colors? Whether you're a small business or a community, we all have spent time building a brand, building a logo. Can your platform be customized to bring that into the look and feel? And ultimately, that will also set a tone, right, for the members that are looking at it, making them feel, yes, we are here. We are in this space that is separated by the colors, even if it's just the colors. And does the platform integrate with other systems? So looking at, again, your digital, you know, footprint, seeing what other systems do you need to integrate with. Most of the most common ones are CRMs. People want their membership platforms to connect to their CRM so that you have that one place of collection of email data. I mean, email newsletters are still a very powerful way to build a membership or online community and to keep people connected. Now, we are web and app based, but we've just introduced a new tool in our admin dashboard for our community leaders for them to email directly out of that tool as well. So we understand the power of email, and that is an integration that we have now built. Tip 6, creating a content plan based on your channels and that fosters engagement. So we really want to take a look at what content you want to share, which is relevant for your ideal client member type and your subject matter, but also relevant for the channel. So let's use WhatsApp as an example. WhatsApp is a place that people are using to build, you know, small communities. You know, can you use the WhatsApp features to, you know, is it fit for purpose for what you want to do in the long term? My challenges with WhatsApp is that when I have new people joining a group, I need to reshare historical content. I also mute a lot of WhatsApp groups because I find it very noisy. For a lot of people, WhatsApp is a personal place, not a business place. And so there are a lot of challenges with WhatsApp. I mean, some of the benefits are everyone's already on it. You can put people into a group without asking them, which I wouldn't actually acknowledge. I think you should always do invite-based groups to respect people's wishes. But also, if people are muting your group because there's a lot of banter in there that isn't relevant, are they actually seeing the stuff that's important for them to see? But choosing your channel and then creating a content plan around it is very important. Tip 7, staying organized. Let's take a look at what that looks like in terms of online communities and engagement. So, you know, types of daily, weekly, and monthly things that you need to be doing is responding to groups or individual comments on a daily basis, especially as your group starts out in the early days. You're starting to bring members in, members are just starting to talk. And if someone doesn't respond to them, in most cases in the early days, that will be you. It might even be you in the longer term, depending on your group. But you want to respond to those direct messages, the comments, the emails, and just be very, very present to make sure that your members feel engaged with. You want to research stories in the news for relevant topics to discuss, you know, as things are changing in your industry, or, you know, anything that might be directly relevant, making sure you're sharing those news with your members. On a weekly basis, scheduling posts and communication, looking at your communication metrics. Now, if we, you know, kind of jump back a little bit to tip number 5, making sure that your platform gives you important analytics and important metrics. If it doesn't tell you what content is being looked at, what's being engaged with, what's not being engaged with, you're not necessarily going to be able to tweak your content planning to make it more relevant and more engaging. So making sure that your platform does give you good metrics. You want to check in on other communities that you're a part of and take notes on what kind of content and messages are trending, and consider using your own community as well. So again, looking at what things people are talking about in other spaces, communicating with your core members on what's coming up and how you can help them. So it is really important for you to stay engaged and also, touch in with them on a weekly basis. Creating some personal content for your community, especially in online memberships that are based upon someone's expertise or a coach. Creating that content where you're sharing with them your own personal stories, your personal content is important. And then on a monthly basis, maintaining that content calendar, communicating with your clients, potentially on email. So what I would say is you may be using, for example, Eugenie to do that daily, weekly interaction, doing a monthly newsletter or doing a monthly email to touch them and bring them back to the community, and can also be a great way to keep people engaged. And make sure that you also then give them a vision for the next month. One of the top tips in running memberships in general is giving a roadmap or a journey so people can understand what they're going to get, and also have a way to kind of track their progress in the community. Tip number 8, creating a marketing funnel which leads your prospective members to your home base. So this is really, really important as well, just making it really easy for people to understand where the community lives and be able to easily access it. And one of the tips I can give you as a practical example for this one is I have a client who puts her come make sure you come check our Eugenie community out in every newsletter, in every email, so that people know that, hey, we need to go and check this out. So if it's on Facebook, you might want to put that into your, into your email header, wherever that might be, keeping it very simple for people to understand where your home base is, wherever that might live. Setting success metrics. Metrics for success are really important because they help you understand. We go back to tip number 1. Are you achieving your goals? Are you on track to achieving your goals? And so let's take a look at what some of the metrics are for engaging in online communities. So we want to take a look at how many new members join the community every week, every month. And again, are these in line with what you were hoping to achieve? How many members are leaving? One of the hardest things in community building after getting new people into the community is making sure that people don't leave or they renew. Are they essentially, with this question, getting the value that they thought that they were going to give? Now, it's very difficult to get people to come back. So you want to stay on top of, in Eugenie, for example, we have a feature that shows you when the last time someone logged into the community was. And so you could set a metric for yourself to say, every month I'm going to check to see who hasn't logged in this month. And if they haven't, maybe I'll email them or I'll reach out to them to see what's going on. We want to catch people before they're out the door. Are new members actively participating? Are new members feeling welcome? What's the tone? Are they coming in, jumping in? Now, I will say in most communities, you get that 80-20 rule where you have 20% that's super engaged with the other kind of 80% engaging at some time or just lurking or watching. These people are also quite important, but you do want to see if your new members are participating. What content has the most engagement? Likes, upvotes, comments. For any community, comments, especially on social media, are more valuable than likes. Now, I know we all like the like, it's easy to do. You can see, you feel good, but ultimately a lot of these platforms are now prioritizing posts that have comments, not just likes. So, you want to engage, encourage your members to comment on each other's posts. Do you want to comment on posts? They will, especially in Facebook or LinkedIn, be more heavily, it'll be higher in the algorithm, which will help your members see their content in their feeds. Now, that's one of the challenges that we've heard a lot from Facebook communities that are coming over to Eugenie or just asking us for tips on Facebook, is how do we get our content in front of our members, because they're saying that they're not seeing it in their newsfeed. What content is most popular? So what content are people, lapping up? What could you produce more of? What is least popular? Content is another, but one of the main challenges that we hear from our customers is, we have so much to do. Content generation is difficult. So, why are we creating content on content nobody wants to read about? Is there anything that is lacking on your site that your members are requesting? And so this is coming back to make sure you're doing feedback and asking for feedback on things that people want to see. and what content type is most popular. So are people reading content? Do they want Q&As? Is it videos? Would they rather just, have a video, a podcast? Maybe you're a moms in business community and people just want to listen to a podcast while they are cooking or watching the kids. So taking a look at what content type is popular will also be important in your success metrics. Tip number 10, which will be our final tip for this webinar, is creating and introducing guidelines. And ultimately, the side tip here is making sure you stick to them. So, in Facebook groups, we all see it. We see the Facebook pinned post usually has the group rules. If you're joining a new group, it will also ask you to opt into them. That might be as simple as be respectful and, don't steal other people's content from this group, all the way to you're not allowed to promote yourself. So creating that objective again and goals for your community, your group will help you create these guidelines, but you also want to make sure that they're easily enforceable and visible in the community. And I'm going to leave you with 2 examples. So in Slack, which is a great tool for teams, in my opinion, small teams, the bigger the Slack channel gets, the harder it is to use. But ultimately, you want to create and follow some rules. And so for Slack, organizing your Slack into channels and making sure that they each have a purpose. Removing any redundant ones. One of the things that we face sometimes in our Slack community, which is just for my developers, is that people are posting in the wrong channel. So we're like, is this too confusing? Should we just condense this into one? Not bloating the channel, meaning Slack bombing. This is where you might say, hey, enter. Good morning, how is everyone? Enter, and then get to your point. It's harder for people, put all your related text into one post. You can use the thread feature. So if someone makes a comment, reply back on that thread to keep everything organized as well. Slack doesn't do everything. They have lots of integrations, so make sure you use other tools as needed. Mention people so that, if I want to talk to a specific developer, always mention them, because otherwise it's going to get lost in all the banter. And then use your do not disturb when you want to focus and are not necessarily going to respond. Some of these principles can be used in WhatsApp, just not as effectively because it's not built for that. But for WhatsApp, there's one group of mine that I always like to give a shout out to, which is fantastic. They're called the Happy People. A couple of amazing entrepreneurs started this here in London a couple of years ago. And now I think there's like 79 different WhatsApp groups under the Happy People branding, and they're all various channels for different things. But when Happy People Socials, which is one of the 2 that I'm involved in, that I'm in, Happy People Socials is the opportunity for people to share what they're doing in the real world. So saying, hi, I'm going to be at this place at this time, and then other people can meet up. And I think it's fantastic. I'm a very big believer in meeting in real life. Technology is fantastic. I'm an online community platform builder, but meeting in the real world just cannot be replaced, in my opinion. But in this community, as lockdown started, the group was put into lockdown as well, which I thought was phenomenal and very responsible of the group leadership. Ultimately, this group is about meeting in real life. So its purpose, its objective cannot be served while we're in lockdown. And many of us like the fact that the rules are just sharing the plan and not adding too much content in there. Because remember, there's 256 people in there. So every time I ping, I'm pinging 256 people. So we need to be cognizant of that, but I thought it was fantastic. So on that note, that is our top 10 tips on building and engaging an online community. For those of you that registered on Zoom, I will send out slides that have the next 10 tips. And then if you have any questions, feel free to email me or set up a time to speak to me about your specific community. Remember, you can try Eugenie for free at the moment. Head over to eugenie.io/trial, and you can go ahead and try us out. And in that, you'll get a session with one of our team members as well to work on your digital strategy. For those of you that are watching on Facebook, thank you so much. Hopefully you can give us a follow or come and join one of our upcoming webinars. We do things on building memberships, online community, running virtual summits. So anything that helps engage communities in the online space. I'm very excited to announce that as of August, we're going to be running a membership mastermind as well with one of our clients, Successful Superwomen. So if you want any details about that, please also do get in touch. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the Facebook share.